I was like pumped up, ready to go, like chest flared up. And then all of a sudden I see it and I switch and I go into this, oh gosh, like this is about to happen right now.
What's up, everybody? My name is Adam, and I'm the host of the UKnowAdamTsang podcast, the show that is dedicated on bringing on passionate people, learning about their stories, and delivering value to entrepreneurs. So if that's what you're interested in, go ahead and follow, like, and subscribe. You know what I'm saying?
How's it going, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the UKnowAdamTsang podcast, where you get to know a little bit more about people, passions, and all things business. Today, sitting very, very far across the way, I have Mr. Robert David Weeks. Glad to have you on the show.
Yo, Adam, I super appreciate it to be part of the show and excited to be able to serve the community too, and pumped for everyone that is watching, listening in. Super excited.
Yeah, awesome. Robert, you are a phenomenal speaker. I had the opportunity to see you speak at the GRIT Conference, and I learned very quickly that the reason why that's the case is because you actually, this is what you do full time. You basically teach people how to become more effective public speakers.
Yeah, and it's been the journey. We can definitely get into the journey of like how that came to be. But yeah, for my focus is being able to support people and being able to share their genuine voice and being able to really be able to get present to in the moment. Life, there's a lot that's happening, a lot of stuff that we have to deal with in a day. And so when we can get back to being present and also experiencing more fun, that's like, I think we could all use a little bit more fun. So really that's the focus when it comes to this work in public speaking.
That's awesome. Tell me a little bit about kind of, I guess, how you got here, right? Like, so being able to be a effective public speaker and also not only be effective public speaker, but also be at the core having fun with it. How did you get to this point?
Yeah, well, I mean, the key is like it was not always fun, like for the majority of the time. And so how it started was as a kid growing up, I grew up with, I was the youngest of three brothers, and then also both my parents were teachers. And so growing up, I felt this kind of like sense of, really being shy when it comes to meeting new people, engaging. I always felt like I had to be someone that I wasn't in the moment, and always kind of be, in essence, like the perfect person for whoever that other person was I was talking to. And that was over just a course of the series of years growing up as a kid. And then when I got into college, really for me, that was a moment of a shift that started to happen of being able to get outside my bubble. I feel like we can all relate to having those moments where we feel like we're in a bubble and we need to get out and we need to go experience the world. And that could be depending if you're in a small town, which is what I was. I was in a small town, to just being in a very confining place or having people like want to influence how you want to act and what you want to say. And so this sense of wanting to go out there and really try my own path is what led me in college of going to College of Charleston in South Carolina. And so for me, that was a moment to really start to open up and share more of my voice. And I was grateful for an opportunity to have a class in entrepreneurship there that really sparked it for me of doing presentations, getting into more of public speaking. And as the years progressed, I realized once I graduated that even though I had gotten these better at the skill, I still felt like I wasn't being my genuine self. I felt like even though in that moment I really didn't know what that looked like, I felt like I was also still being someone else and faking it in many ways of like how I was expressing myself to others. And so I remember my first networking event. This is really what kicked it off for me, for the moment of just being on this path, driven to support people and being able to share their genuine voice. Was I had an intention of showing up at this networking event. It was an entrepreneurship event. Speaker was going to come in, share their story, and you had that moment of everyone getting together, connecting, and it's a paid event. And I remember having the intention of I want to show up in my true self. I'm not really sure exactly what that is, but I'm going to give it a try. Like I'm going to put it out there. I feel epic about it. I'm excited. I'm ready to rumble. Like, let's do this. And then the day comes. Like, I bought the ticket. I get it. And I show up. I start walking up towards where it's being held, and I still remember seeing the registration area, and all of a sudden it switches. I was like pumped up, ready to go, like chest flared up, and then all of a sudden I see it and I switch, and I go into this, oh gosh, like this is about to happen right now. Like this is going down. And you start getting the palm sweating, the voice quivering, the pit stains forming. I had like a waterfall, it felt like, coming out of my armpits. And of course, as I go up, I put on that fake smile that we've all perhaps experienced in those moments. We're not feeling it, but we're doing it. And so I put it on. I remember, just saying hello, getting the name tag, going up into the building, and then there's that elevator to go to the second floor where the event is. And I remember getting in the elevator with someone else, and I'm like, all right, here's my chance. Like, let me start just opening up, sharing. And so I remember saying hi, and then the person turns to me and they say hi, and then that was it for the entire time. And I'm like, oh, this is a great start. Like, here we go. And so the elevator doors open up, we go out. And she goes up in front of me and goes towards the room. And now it's that like tunnel vision that starts to happen, because you see the room at the end, and it's this long corridor. And I still remember the groups forming. And for those that have gone to networking events and have walked in late, that moment where you see these, like, it's like, feels like you're in the wild with these groups of packs of people in different areas all connecting. And you're like, how the hell am I going to go in and like introduce myself? How am I going to like shake hands? Like, am I going to interrupt? Like, what do I do with my hands? Am I going to look weird? And I still remember getting to the doorway, and there was something in that moment that said, no, you're not going in. And I did a 180 turn back. Like, I was like, okay. And like, I turned back. I remember starting to feel like really embarrassed by that, really like self-conscious, worried people were all staring at me. And as I got closer to the elevator to just stay there, to just take a breath, I ended up reaching in my pocket, grabbing my phone, and doing something. And for those that have done this before, the feelings that start to come up from this is I grabbed my phone out of my pocket and I had a fake phone conversation with myself of just talking, saying, oh, this is great, having a great time here, yeah, so much fun. No one's on the other line. People are walking by. Now you're like, oh, everyone knows I'm on this fake phone conversation. Like, all of those emotions start bubbling up, sensations, the head buzzing, just you're feeling the tingles, and you're just like, and the stomach's just churning, and you're like, for me, I was like, I gotta get out of here. And so I got into the elevator. I was like, I'm done. Didn't even stay for the speaker. I ended up walking out of the building. And for me, I remember telling myself, like, to go on this path. I was like, I never want to feel like this again. Like, I know I got to work on this, of being able to share myself in this space of public speaking, connecting with others, sharing my genuine self. And I don't want anyone else to have to feel like this either. I want others to be able to really be able to be comfortable in sharing who they are through their voice and expressing that to the world. And really, that's what led me to then diving into, and that was 8 years ago, diving into this journey of really honing in when it comes to public speaking and showing up genuinely, by being able, when I say that, I say by what you're saying, you're being. And from there, that's led me to supporting others. If it's from those that have been TEDx speakers to professional singers, to those that are wanting to get started in the professional career standpoint, and also to speak on stages. And so it's been that journey of 8 years to get where we are now. But truly grateful for that moment of a decision and making a shift and a change.
Was there something that happened when you were younger that basically created this like nervousness? Was that always there, or was that something that kind of like was accentuated by this specific event?
Yeah, so it was a culmination for sure. Like, I think we can all relate in some instance of someone disagreeing with us. And I remember early on getting a message of when someone disagreed, that didn't feel great on my end. And I felt like I had to take on the responsibility of making it shift and change so that the other person felt comfortable. And that was a message I took in whenever I would go out there and voice my opinion or voice my views on something as a kid. I would always get told like, okay, no, that's not the right way, or put down, or just talked over, or the shouting, the other person was, able to shout more than I could. And I kept on getting this reaffirming message of, okay, well, either the easiest way or the way to make this the best situation possible is to make sure the other person feels comfortable. And I, growing up, utilized that kind of like as a crutch, in essence, of like just not showing who I was. Now I realize the benefit and the blessing that it was, and a superpower of being able to make sure other people like really acknowledging their emotions, and their feelings. Yeah, and the empathy of it. And so being able to understand that what we go through for our struggles and the challenges that we face, there are gifts in that. We may not see it in the moment, or maybe a few years. It may take a few years. or even a few decades, but to just know that there are gifts in those challenges and those moments that happen for us.
Would you say you were confident, or the confidence just wasn't there, right? Like, or what was the connection between those two?
Yeah, so I mean, the confidence was not there. So when I started off, and still to this day, so I want to say that for people, like, to know, like, it doesn't go away. But for me, especially early on, when I would have a conversation with a stranger, I still remember this story with my mom. We went to a Target, and I was looking to get shampoo, and I was very young. I was around like maybe 7 or 8. And I remember like not wanting to ask an employee there where the shampoo was. I was starting to shake, like my body physically was shaking. And again, the sweating was happening. And I was like, no, I'm not doing this. And then my mom, I'm grateful for her doing this. She was like, we're not leaving the store until you ask someone where it is. And you need those people that believe in you when you don't believe in yourself. And really, she opened up that space for me to go out there, and I was my voice quivering, like shaking, and I did it as best I could. Of like, where's the shampoo? And that took a while to get to that point. It took like a few minutes, like if not, like I'd say, around like 10 minutes or so. And ever since then, even to this day, I'll have moments, especially if it's talking to someone I admire, if it's talking to on a stage that is very big in what I'm used to, I will still have moments of feeling nervous or even a level of shaking. And the key, something I always want to share with people is like, that is natural to happen when it comes to nervousness, comes to those emotions that we feel. It's not to disregard those or suppress those, but it's just the goal is just to be able to handle it, just to allow it to flow through you. And there's different ways to go about that, which we can absolutely talk more into. But yeah, confidence was not there to start. It was something to having to put in the reps that I always say of each and every day working towards building upon that.
Yeah. So, after you went through this, you made the decision. And I think what I love about your story is you took something that was a challenge for you, and you decided to, instead of just like, dealing with it, improving at it or whatever, you actually turned it into what you currently do because you want to be able to help other people out there. Give me an idea of like what you're doing currently, right? Like now that we've kind of like gone through how we came across this challenge, what is the business currently?
Yeah, so what I focus in on is, I call it VTW, is what I call it. So it's voice training workouts. And I do that in the standpoint of one-on-one support of helping people in developing voice exercises that they can use, so they can put in the reps consistently. And so that's also one-on-one work that I do with people, to speaking on stages and sharing these voice exercises, which you had the opportunity to experience too when I was in Savannah, to then doing my own virtual events and classes where groups can come together and practice. And so calling it basically the next rep speaker classes. And so speakers come together to be able to practice their stories, practice their talks, and also to, as well with that, be able to connect to their silliness and their goofiness. Because I believe in all the work that I do is the importance is to connect to our weirdness and our silliness and allow that to be a gift. And then so virtual, as well as planning to do in-person summits, workshops, conferences. That's all I will say for right now. But there are quite a few things in the development stage of that too.
How big is this industry? I've never heard of like VTW, and maybe I'm just like kind of like in a small town, and that's kind of like the way that it is. But tell me, like, what does the landscape look like?
Yeah, I appreciate that question, because a lot of people are actually not familiar with it. Like when it comes to voice exercises. So basically, voice exercises have been utilized by professional singers and actors heavily. A lot of the times, when it comes to the best of the best, there'll be many of them will use them, and they are super helpful for becoming an anchor in being able to go out there and connect to your confidence. Also allows you to do some silly sounds. One is like Baby Chewbacca for Star Wars fans. And so like you doing these weird sounds, but it also focuses on the endurance of the voice, the actual vocal cords, the muscles surrounding it, is you're strengthening it. And so really you're creating a workout for your voice. So you can think about that as the rest of your body for when it comes to working out, utilizing that for your voice. We really take that for granted. Sometimes we don't even think about that. And so for voice exercises, it's been around for quite a while, but specifically in professional singing and acting, and then even now also too, those that are speakers, top level speakers, they'll utilize it, but it hasn't been I don't think yet. That's why hopping in and sharing this. I don't believe it's gone yet into many people in the speaking industry utilizing this, and I think it's a missed opportunity because it allows us to connect the silliness and also helps out with our voice too at the same time.
Wow. So from what I hear, definitely some innovation happening, right? Where you're bringing this concept into basically other industries that maybe don't know about it as much. Why do you think voice training workouts is so important, maybe for the everyday person?
Yeah. So, well, two things come up. Well, three things come up. Two, I really, really harp on. One, I'm recently bringing into focus. But the first is endurance of the voice. When we're going throughout our day, communicating, talking, if that's depending on what roles we're in and what we're doing, even just thinking about family life, by the end of the day, we can feel tired. We can feel like our voice is drained, like we are done. And by being able to work out our voice and build endurance with our voice, we're not ending the day as tired and as exhausted. And by being able to have that happen, all of a sudden the challenges that we're facing throughout the day, and especially even at the end of the day, we're able to start to respond to those challenges rather than react. And when we're doing that, we've all noticed the difference between responding and reacting. Reacting is not going as well as it could. And responding, we're feeling that we're charting our own path and we're actually moving in this life and life's happening for us. And so that's really a big focus when it comes to this work from a practical standpoint for those that are kind of like, I get it, but like, I kind of want a practical, like, what the hell does this do? It really helps for the endurance of the actual muscles surrounding the voice, the vocal cords themselves, working them out in a unique way that then allows for your day-to-day talking, just in conversational tones, to feel less tiring. So that's one. And then the second one that I talk about that's more for those that are kind of like want to flow with it and kind of vibe with it is the fun. Like when you're doing these voice exercises, you are being at a fun vibration in your life and with a lot of challenges, especially in entrepreneurial space. You're dealing with a lot of challenges day in, day out. And when we are coming from more of a possibility standpoint rather than a scarcity of what the hell do I do in this moment, when we're at that vibration of fun, then the world opens up for those possibilities of what we can do, what we can create, the innovations that can unfold. And it's a beautiful gift that we can give ourselves. And we could all, of course, use more fun in our life. And so really that's the second focus. And then the final one that brings it all together, and especially for creating a business, going out there, if it's pitching it, to going out there and bringing in customers, to connections that can be made, is confidence. By being able to express a part of us that perhaps we don't really share that often with people, and that's our silliness, the little bit of that weirdness with some of these exercises of like lip trills, tongue trills, when we're able to just do that on a consistent basis and make that a priority by telling ourselves that, by doing it when it comes to the body and the mind, or the rest of the body and our mind connected, then we're going into it saying, all right, if I could do this and I'm doing this consistently and it's kind of getting a bit boring, what other possibilities can I do out there? Like then all of a sudden the confidence comes in of saying, all right, I'm kind of like okay with this. I'm expressing this side. Like now I can go and take the risk of adding a joke into if it's a pitch, and they realize, oh, now the investors can connect to me because like they know a little bit more about my personality and I'm not as robotic. Or it could be if it's customers, you're able to really share more of your personality of who you are and that silliness, and we want to laugh more. And so if you're creating a positive response to your customers when they see the content that you're producing or how you're expressing your products or services, they're going to want to buy from you because they like you more. And so there's ways that you can go about that for the confidence side of it. But that's been an added benefit that I have noticed within my own self, as well as others that have gone through and practiced this on a consistent basis.
I love that. Talk to me about kind of the exercises that you take on a daily basis, right? Like, do you just wake up every morning and, do your sets and practice every single day?
Yes. I mean, I'm happy to do one demonstration for one. With the mic, with this one, it's tough for some of the ones that you can experience. But before I get into that, though, so how I do it for me every day. So I on Mondays through Wednesday, I do a VCW daily, so twice a day on Instagram Live. And that was something that I needed for my own self, for accountability. And then, of course, it's opened up for an opportunity for others to experience these exercises in a digital format for free, and they get to experience it. And so I do that Monday to Wednesday. And then
what's the URL? What's the Instagram handle for those
listeners?
Listeners?
The Instagram handle, it's RD Weeks, WEEKS 50. And so, yeah, it's every Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Instagram lives. Yeah.
Perfect.
So also too, how it's done, it's like it can take like around 10 minutes total for the workout, or you could just take so it's 5 exercises, 10 minutes. You're doing a certain amount of reps. It's so it's 3 reps for the exercises and then 5 reps for the first exercise. But you could either do a compressed version of that, of just doing one of these exercises for 3 reps, and that could be less than a minute. And you do that every day, you're going to notice a difference. You will. And so one that I can do right now quickly is called la la la's. And so it's like the tip of the tongue, roof of the mouth, back of the front teeth. There's that little ridge area, and you're doing the tongue roll is how I say it too. So it's like a la sound. So you can do that 5 reps. So la, la, la. And then you keep going for the 5 reps. And it's just simple as that. And many times when it comes to simplicity, we want to overcomplicate it as human beings. And so simplicity is key in my regards with this work. Is like, if we can keep it simple, it's a whole keep it simple, silly is my go-to with that.
Something that you said earlier that really resonated with me was really this concept of fun, right? You know, we go through all of our lives with so much stress and you know, pressure, and there's all these kind of like different components that are vying for our attention. And, you know, this is something that I also practice on my own. It's like I try to have as much fun as I can, because if I'm not having fun, there's actually no point. And so, like, the fact that these VTWs are able to kind of like get you out of that zone in the mind of like, okay, well, I can be silly. I can, you know, enjoy myself. I think that that's a huge benefit to those people that do practice.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes. Like, just to add on to that quickly is, just thinking about when we're at that vibration, it just goes back to like life just feels better. And as you said, it's like, yes, we sometimes feel like we got to go for the goal and then work towards that goal, and we got to suffer and grind and put in the work and all of that. And I'm all about putting in the reps and putting in the consistent work, but also not to the expense of finding ways in which to make it fun. And I am not perfect. No one is perfect. Like, you will have the days where it's not always fun the entire time, like 24/7. That does not happen. I don't believe that's real life personally. But the key is to always have that still be a priority in your day, to always come back to that and remind yourself of that. And the key is just continuously showing up. And you won't show up fully all the days, but the key is just making sure that that's an intention there for you is so important. It really becomes a game changer in the space of entrepreneurship.
Talk to me about when obviously there was the event, right, where you felt super nervous and then you picked up the phone and pretend talking on the phone. What was the trigger for you to actually turn it to get your LLC to kind of like go down that route? Let's talk about that.
Yeah, well, so the key is I like to think of it as a spaghetti phase. So for entrepreneurship, like, it did not just all of a sudden go from that moment and then the next day I'm like, yo, let me go to like LegalZoom, get my LLC. The path is charted, like, it's there, I see it. All right, we're on it. Like, that does not happen. I think if someone says that, there's a big part that's missing. That just my 2 cents on that, but it's what I call the spaghetti phase. So that was 8 years ago, and so that led me through a bunch of different things when it came to public speaking, and as well as entrepreneurship. So I was a DJ when I first got started in entrepreneurship. So I did that, did the nightclub scenes, parties. That was in my college days, and I loved that. That was great, but also I was hiding. You can hide from that a lot.
But I mean, when you're DJing, you got to get on the mic, right? Hype up the crowd. Like, were you doing that?
No, so I wasn't. That's the thing. I wasn't. Like, I get like maybe one time, but then you go on the music. The music, you're able to speak through the music, and that's like a whole separate combo for the power of music and being able to express yourself that way.
What type of music do you spin, if you don't mind me asking?
Man, so for me, it's electronic. Like, I love dubstep, and also too, just like different forms of electronic was great. And then of course the pop top 40 hits kind of vibe too.
Right on.
Depending on the event. So, and then also daytime. Like, I love daytime trance a little bit too with that for like poolside. So those are always cool. But with it, it's like, so that's how it started. And then all of a sudden, I'm going into then social media work, doing consulting and diving into social media. to then getting into speaking about meditation. And it was all more interest, like what interested me, my mind, for those that know this, where you have these ideas that pop up and then you're like trying to seize them. It's great for innovation, for cool things, but also too, you got to make sure there's structure around that, because if not, you get lost in all the different ideas and then nothing happens. But for me, it was what I call the spaghetti phase, where it's just throwing stuff against the wall, seeing what I resonate with, seeing what sticks with the audience. And so I would go and I would speak at my alma mater for college. I'd speak at HR events. Like, I'd do this, and it'd be these moments of just talking about certain different things. Like, as I said, meditation was one, social media was one, talking about how to bring more mindfulness into leadership roles. And so all these different interests of mine unfolded to get to the point where I was like, you know what, like, I've been doing this for 8 years. Like, now I feel I'm excited to want to go and help others and teach others. And so that idea did not happen 8 years ago of saying, hey, like, I want to go out and help others to also be able to work through this and feel like they can share their genuine voice. It was just more of like, I don't want anyone else to feel like this ever again. But I don't really know what to do with that. That's kind of just like a thought and an idea, but it didn't really translate to what it is today. Back then, it was through this journey of discovery, which I believe we all go on in this entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah. During this period of time while you're on this path of, trying out these different things, was there because business is business, right? Like, there's all these components that are very similar to each other. Was there a trigger point that led you to say, hey, I want to help? Like, I feel like this is something that is happening to a lot of other people, and I want to help people find their voice.
Yeah, so I definitely, the inspiration for wanting to help really stems from my dad. So my dad, he's about to retire soon, depending on when this goes live. But he he's the community service director of my high school, the high school I went to, which is a whole other dynamic for when it comes to like being taught by your dad, like in high school.
Love that.
Yeah, but ever since I was, I think, maybe 6 or 7, every Saturday, I would go out and get involved in the community. And we do different things, if it's gardening, to Habitat for Humanity, to going to soup kitchens, all of that growing up. And so as best I could every Saturday, I would be out there and doing that. And I'd be I don't want to say it, but very much encouraged to do it. And it became a part of me. And of course, you go then through the rebel phase of saying, all right, I don't want to do this anymore. I want my Saturdays back, because all I've known is this. And what I'm grateful for is to have a full circle moment of coming back into how important that is to help others and support others. And it's a big drive, because it's like, I definitely grew up in that environment of just going out there and doing it. And so I'm grateful for that. And we all have our different ways of getting to that point. But for me, when it came to wanting to say I can help others specifically in public speaking, when that happened, that was during the pandemic. And that was a moment for me to realize, wow, like all of a sudden we had this moment of like kind of everyone in essence stopping, taking a moment to really breathe and to figure out, hey, like, I've been doing this work for this amount of years on my own. I feel like I want to explore this. Again, it started with a curiosity and an interest of saying, I want to go out and help people in this space. I think I can do it. I'm not sure how I'm going to do it, but like, I have a small belief, and it's not this big, massive flame, but it was a small ember of fire that I was like, all right, let me explore this and start feeding it and seeing what happens. And that's been a beautiful journey and a gift. And I love it. I mean, this stuff like fires me up. I get amped about it, of wanting to go out and support people in the space of public speaking. But all started back with my dad saying, all right, Saturdays, we're going out there and supporting the community.
What's some advice that you would give to somebody that would need your services, right? Like, so in my mind, I think a lot about maybe somebody who's on the shyer side that is having difficult, even talking to people, like in a social setting, right? Like they don't know what to say. Is that kind of like the typical person that you're trying to lift up?
Yeah, well, there's 2 levels to it. Yeah, I always think about it as levels. So definitely it's for those that have an interest of wanting to get better in public speaking in general, of like conversationally, to if it's in their work and wanting to excel in their career, to family life, being able to communicate. And then also to then really honing in on, hey, I actually want to go and start speaking in front of larger audiences and sharing a message, sharing something that's been on my heart that I feel can really make an impact for someone else. And so for me, I also want to support those in that space that really want to take it to the next level in the professional speaking side of it. And so as some tips I can share when it comes to both of those that are still helpful no matter at what level you play at for this space is one to, of course, and again, it sounds, it's not like, oh, what's like the word I can say, this or that, but really, and again, it's like the whole idea of what's common sense is not always common practice is something that was shared with me for a quote by a mentor of mine. It's giving yourself grace, like to just be able to not really get frustrated with yourself when it doesn't go well for a conversation you have with someone. So let's say you want to say something very important to, let's say, if it's a family member, and it just comes out as a jumbled mess, and it actually doesn't go that well for reaction. The key, instead of getting into that moment of frustration and like just saying, this sucks, like I'm not going to do that again, is giving yourself some grace and saying, all right, you know what? Another quote of mine that I really hold on to from a mentor is that every master was once a disaster. And so like we got to give ourselves grace. So this is where I'm starting. And that's just a simple, just a switch when it comes to the mindset. From a practical standpoint, practice is key. So if you have an important conversation that you're wanting to talk to a family member about, it's actually rehearsing it out. And there's different levels to that. I always say for someone really just starting off, just get to the point where the words you want to say, the key words, put that down, write that out on a piece of paper, and then talk out loud with it and just say it. Say it as many times as you need to, but it sounds so simple, but that's it. That's really it. It's just doing that, putting in the reps. And those would be two steps. And then the final one is breathe. Actually take a moment to breathe through the words you're saying. And so especially if you're about to go up there and talk to a family member, take a breath first, maybe 2, maybe 3 or 4, to the point where they're like, are you okay? Like, what's going on? And you can do to that point where it's just like breathe, like slow it down, really slow it down. And that will be a big shift that can happen for you of being okay and comfortable of then all of a sudden stepping in and saying the words you got to say.
That's amazing advice. What's coming up next for you and the stuff that you have going on?
Yeah, so I'm getting back out. I got the speaking events going, so I'm doing a nice little tour setup. Definitely more updates about that coming out soon. But definitely for ways in which for people to participate, the big thing is virtual and in-person events. Those are starting to unfold. That I'm really excited about to help share this VTW magic out into the world. And so the goal is to start looking for where people are wanting this when it comes to cities, towns, going out there and saying, hey, and especially for those watching or listening, if you're like, hey, this would be fun to have a workshop in my town, please let me know. You can send me a DM because that's the goal, is to start creating events where people can come together that want to improve, build community, create some epic fun, create potentially new friendships, and also to work on a magical, beautiful tool that we all possess, which is our voice as well.
Love that. What's the best way to get connected with you?
Yeah, so the best way is going to be Instagram. So RD Weeks, WEEKS 50, and then also on Instagram or on LinkedIn, Robert-David Weeks. That's the other way to those 2 platforms.
Fantastic. Robert, I want to thank you so much for coming on to the show. It was an absolute pleasure to have you. I think I learned a lot about kind of like your story and how what made you, do the things that you do. And again, what I love about this is not only that you overcame a challenge, but you took that challenge and turned it into a passion that you are now helping other people. And that's sometimes the best fuel for any type of entrepreneur.
Yeah, and again, Adam, I so appreciate the opportunity to be able to go out there and serve and support this community. And the key is, yes, being able to figure out what it is that really gets you excited and fired up and ready to go for the day. And because those days are going to add up to years, and then from there, decades, and your life. So definitely going out there and continue to put in the reps is so key and important.
Awesome. Looking forward to everything that you do in the future, man.
Yeah, hell yeah. I appreciate it. Appreciate this.